A jam-packed, thank you. We have got a jam-packed event for us here today. So we will get kicked off. My name is Liz Haberberger. I am with Dale Carnegie. And we are actually going to get started with some numbers this morning. So we're going to share my screen just briefly, and then we're going to get into this panel discussion. So taking a look up there, give me a quick thumbs up if you see that screen. You should see a big purple box. Yes, thank you. All right, so Microsoft just came out, okay, with a 2022 research report. And here's what they found. They found that 53% of employees are now prioritizing mental health and well-being over work. And so we're hearing a lot right now about the great reshuffle, the great recession. And part of that is because employees are saying, hey, I want to work at a place that makes me feel good. What's love got to do with it? If it doesn't feel good, if it makes them feel stressed, they will leave. And so we are all here today to hear from 4 amazing women who work at companies in St. Louis who were nominated as best places to work. Now, this is a really big deal, and here's why. More than 230 companies submitted for best places to work. Of those more than 230, only 74 were selected, and they were selected in 5 different categories based on size, okay? So we're gonna hear lots of different size business perspectives here today as well. They had to take a survey. Okay, this was a survey. There was an algorithm that went with it. It looked at things like employee engagement, teamwork, leadership structures, other attributes. And then they said, okay, well, of these 74 best places to work, are they doing things differently? Are they doing things differently than other companies to attract talent, to retain talent? And what they found was yes. So they sent out a survey to these 74 companies. 44 responded, and 43 of the 44 said, yes, we are doing things differently. And so we're going to get to hear about some of those things today that companies are doing differently, specifically when it comes to talent, when it comes to their people and their culture. So welcome to our discussion, What's Love Got to Do with It? Talking about how to speak to the hearts and minds of our employees. So as we think about who we have joining us here this morning, we have 4 amazing women, like I said, who are going to have an opportunity to share their perspective, share what's working in their world, and share what they're doing differently. So you see these 4 women up here right now. You probably see their pictures, but we have Sarah Davidson from Raceline. We have Tamarius Prince from Links Up. We have Lisa Rock from NMBS, National Medical Billing Service. And then we have Jeannie D from Anders CPAs. So I'm not going to do a huge intro for them because they're going to tell us a lot about their companies. And you did not come to this today to listen to me talk. You came today to listen to these ladies talk. Now, a couple logistics. I'm going to stop sharing because we're going to want to see their faces. A couple logistics, though, as we run through this event. We're going to get to hear from all of these women. We are going to ask that everyone else just stay on mute for us. Again, that's going to help us minimize background noise as much as possible. Now, we do know that as they're talking, you might have some questions, or you might become curious about something that one of these women have to say. There are 2 different ways that you can do that. First off, is we are going to be doing Q&A at the end of the panel discussion. So if you have a question, we're going to ask that you just keep that question for now, right? Jot it down, put it somewhere safe, and we will be doing a formal Q&A at the end. So once we get to the end, we will open it up for questions. We will ask you to type those questions in the chat for us, and then we will be asking questions to the panelists. So that's one way you can get your questions or your curiosity answered. The second is that at the end of the event, we will be sharing their information. So you will get to see all of their pictures again with an email address. So once we get to the end, feel free, that would be a great page to screenshot. So you could follow up directly with just one of the panelists afterwards, if you would like. So with that, we're going to get kicked off. We're going to get right into this panel discussion. Now, the way that it's going to work is we might hear from everyone. We might not hear from every woman on every question. But to get us started, we do want to hear from everyone. So we said that, yes, they're doing things differently. And it's a big deal that they were all nominated as best places to work. So we're going to start off by just asking them, if you could choose one thing, like what is it that makes you a best place to work? What's the one thing that really makes you stand out? And so we're going to get started. The first one I see is Jeannie. Jeannie, would you get started for us? What is it about Anders that made it a best place to work this year?
Thank you so much, Liz. And before I even start that, I want to thank Dale Carnegie and you guys for all the hard work in putting this together. I know how much work goes into doing this. So thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk to all of your guests. Right, at Anders, we're Anders CPAs and Advisors, which means we're a CPA firm. So right out of the starting gate, we've got an uphill battle, right? CPA firms are notoriously stuffy, notoriously boring. I'd like to take the boring out of the CPA profession. We're doing everything in our power to do that. But nevertheless, I think a lot of businesses and certainly CPA firms, the traditional mindset is that our clients come first and then, our staff and our partners or our owners and things like that. We turned that around a long time ago, and we're really proud that we did. We are not afraid to just say, we put our people first. We put our people first because we figured out that if we put our people first, if we keep them happy, if we keep them engaged, if we keep them motivated, if we take care of their needs, they're going to take care of our clients. They're going to make us a lot more money. They're going to take care of our partners. So we have to do that. In today's environment, when the competition for talent is what it is, we're happy we did this a long time ago, and we've held through with it. We did an intentional exercise to evaluate and define our mission, vision, and core values. And it is a three-pronged approach. It is our community, our clients, but most importantly, it's our employees, it's our staff. And so we're intentional about that in everything we do around here. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. And so Jeannie, talking about staff first, you said it was an intentional choice you guys have done. How recent was that, or what has that always been the case at Anders?
The culture's been around for years. I mean, really, Anders has a reputation for being a little bit out of the box type of accounting firm, and that's been around, predates me for sure. But the exercise to define our mission, vision, and core values took place about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a really exhaustive effort that was not just a marketing thing. It's not just something the marketing group came up with to go and push out to the community. It's not slick and glossy. We involved everybody in the firm in this endeavor. We talked to associates, we talked to the admin staff, we talked to the brand new guy that just came to work in our IT desk. We talked all the way up to the managing partner and all the way down. We had focus groups, we had sessions on this. I mean, we really wanted to make it holistic and make it ours, that we could own it. We didn't bring in an outside consultant to kind of teach us how to do it and do it, their way. We wanted it to be ours and be really, really proud of it. So there's ownership throughout the entire firm on that. And I think that's what makes it kind of special and kind of unique, especially for public accounting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We'll pop over to Miss Lisa Rack next. Lisa, what is it that makes you a best place to work?
Well, I would like to echo something that Jeannie said. We also spent about a year coming up with our core values as well, and put a lot of effort into it. And we came up with 7, our mission and our ultimate goal. And it's all over the office. I mean, it's in art, it's on the back of our badges, it's sort of everywhere. So we also did that, but I think it's the ability to change and adapt with the times. And we've done that. One thing that we've noticed recently over the last couple of years is the need for us to be flexible with our staff. And one of the things that we did differently from others is added additional time off. We have every other Friday as a benefit called Unplugged. And on top of our PTO and our holidays, we've added, don't freak out now, 28 additional days off per year. It's every other Friday. And that really helps with illness and doctor's appointments and grocery shopping and those things that you really can't get to during the week. And so, every other Friday, you're going to have a 3-day weekend. And the way we worked it out is we sort of share that 8 hours of time. We give 4 and the employee gives 4 9-hour days. And so we were able to maintain our productivity and offer this with working with our employees. And it has been a huge success in attracting talent and retaining talent.
Nice. I know I saw some eyes when you said an extra 28 days. It was like, holy cow, how, right? But what a unique, and definitely when we think about best places to work, doing things differently to attract and retain talent, to show the love, that's definitely something different that someone.
Well, we offer it all the way up to our executives. We want them to also enjoy, they work hard. And having that one day of being unplugged, you have to make sure you're covered. You have to make sure you're still hitting your deadlines. It's been wonderful. It really has. We all need a little extra mental health break right now. And it goes all the way to the top. So
nice. All right, we'll go around the world to Sarah, who's got that giant world map behind her. Sarah, what is it at Raceline? What are you doing differently? What makes you a best place to work?
Hi, everybody. So I look at Raceline and our culture and the things that we've done and evolved over the years. And I think the 2 things that stick out most to me is, one, communication. We really received some feedback and listened to our employees a few years ago and realized that we weren't communicating enough. And like many of you, we don't just have one type of employee. We are an engineering, manufacturing, and construction company. And we're not just here in St. Louis. We have 12 domestic and international locations. So we work hard to follow the rule of 7 for communication. So we introduced monthly newsletters, reintroduced an improved and more succinct monthly newsletter that might be more apt to be read. And we don't just email it out, we mail it home to people. We make sure it's in multiple languages. We do signage, we have TV. Regardless of what it's about, people are aware. There's no excuse to not be aware. So communication was number 1. And our second thing, my most favorite benefit, is we're an employee-owned company. So we're an ESOP. So every employee has a stake in the outcome. Every employee, whether you're the janitor, the receptionist, a general manager, or a divisional president, you impact the bottom line. And that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, especially in an organization of that size, to have that many people feeling like owners. That's a word we hear a lot, right? Ownership. How do I get people to take ownership? And you've literally given it to them.
We've given them the keys to think and act like an owner, because they are.
Yeah. Nice. All right, we've got one more. Tamaria's, what is it at Links Up? What makes you a best place to work?
Yes. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me today. Everything that my fellow panelists have said is definitely true for helping to attract and retain great talent. Over at Links Up, we are really focusing on listening to our employees, right? I think in this climate, there has been a lot of change, particularly over the past few years with the pandemic. As Liz said earlier, people want to be where they're appreciated, where they're valued, and it's not impacting their health and their families, right? So we really have a motto of listening to our employees, understanding that life comes before work, right? And really wanting to have a workplace that allows them to be with their family. And with that, we offer flexibility as well. So we realized as a SaaS and tech company that our employees want to be virtual. They didn't really want to come back to the office. So as of now, we offer complete virtual or hybrid schedules for most of our employees because we worked from home a year or two and we had record-breaking productivity during that time. And we want to continue to have that. And we listen to our employees and they've mentioned that that's what's important to them. So they can be with their families and they can have that flexibility. Within that, we've also rolled out unlimited PTO. So we're rolling out unlimited PTO, which gives our employees the opportunity to take the time they need when they need it. And they become, have a lot of autonomy and they become, they have the power over their schedules to do the things that they need to do for the business and for their families. So, with that, it gives them balance and empowers them to show up, and be their best at work.
Nice. So love it, right? Different times or different ways we can be flexible. And it obviously depends some on the industry, right? Tamarius being in technology and SaaS, it's a lot easier to say work from home. Sarah in manufacturing, not everyone can work from home in those scenarios. What research is showing right now, part of that Microsoft report is talking about there's a big gap between what employees are aspiring to and what they're expecting and what employers are aspiring to and what their employees actually say they want. And so that ability to truly listen to your employees and then take action on it is one of the keys and one of the themes that we're going to hear throughout this whole panel is the way that they're listening to employees, right? Jeannie talks about staff first. It's about the people that we work with, and then how do we best serve our customers? Now, we can't ignore the title of this panel, right? What's love got to do with it? And we debated in our office even, we were like, is that an appropriate business title? Like, is that something we should put on a panel? And then we just said, you know what? Yes, we think it is. And when the panelists and I were meeting earlier this week, Lisa had said, she's like, I love the title. Because so often she said, I will walk around the office and people will say, I love my job. I love the new person. That wasn't a new word to her. So if we think about the title of this panel, Lisa, we're going to get it kicked off with you. What does love have to do with it? What does love have to do with employee engagement and culture at NMBS?
Well, think of it from an employer's point of view. When you hire someone new and they take off and they get it and their value add quickly, you love that. You love that person, what they bring to the organization. You love the results and you love how that spreads amongst other employees. So the same is true with employees coming into the office. They love the commute, or they love working from home, or they love the free snacks that you have during the day, and they love how challenging the work is. You really, I think, will stagnate if you have, my job's okay, or that employee's okay. So I think love has everything to do with it. So you want to come up with ideas and solutions that are specific to what you do, that draw in that love on both sides. And so that's what we tried to do here. So I think it's a big deal.
And I can say, I know the very first time that I went out to Lisa's office, I walked in and someone was walking down the hall in a prom dress because they were doing something fun, and they just had this glow, and you could tell they were just doing things differently that made people smile. It was truly this employee. I will never forget that, Lisa, walking through the halls and seeing someone.
I have to finish that though, in case everyone's wondering what kind of goofy things we're doing here. We had a training, and it's kind of boring. So we said, you know what? Dress up like your favorite movie star. And we'll give $100 to the person that comes dressed the best. And it made the training funny and fun and engaging. So you walked in at a really weird moment.
You're just sprinkling a little love all over the place, Lisa.
Well, I want to work with happy people. And so every day, and we can't always have those happy days. Sometimes we have tough days. And so you need that high energy to keep the place and you from time to time lifted into a good place. So
Absolutely. Nice. Okay, so I'll throw it out to the rest of the panel. Who wants to build on what Lisa said? Thinking of the title of this, what does love have to do with employee engagement and culture in your organization? Go ahead, Sarah.
I have to unmute. So for me, love is synonymous with appreciation, right? Whether it's appreciation of your partner, your dearest friends, but also your employees. So some of the ways that we try to go above and beyond this, despite growing from 200 to almost 1,400 people, is we really encourage and try to get to know everyone personally. And not just their names, but maybe their spouse's names, their children's names. We try to create opportunities, promotional opportunities, opportunities for growth and development, tuition, a very gracious tuition reimbursement, and as well as a scholarship program for our skilled craft. We've created opportunities for their children through skilled craft internship programs and a professional internship program that offers scholarships to help relieve that burden. We do make time for fun, not quite to Lisa's style with prom dresses, but we brought in Clementines yesterday. We do cake month every month to celebrate birthdays. We appreciate people publicly. And we try to constantly do little things that matter, as well as big things to paint a whole picture. Everything from a total benefits and comp statement to showcase the true value of everything that we provide them, down to handwritten welcome to the ESOP cards. I still send a handwritten congratulations on your baby or wedding card to every employee that I know has a baby or gets married.
Wow.
And we try to continue to be flexible with people and meet people where they're at, despite the burdens that we put on our people. And what I mean by that is some segments of our employee population in professional services and construction travel anywhere from 10 to 90% of the year. So we really try to go out of our way to do little things for them as well as big things. So those are just some of the ways that we try to show our love to our people, but ultimately, once again, hyper communication.
Yeah.
A relationship doesn't work without good communication.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Tamarius.
Yes, I'll build on that a little bit. It links up, we really focus on recognition. As Sarah was mentioning, whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, promotions, getting to know people on a personal level. Engagement is also really important, especially being virtual, right? I think we've, encountered the challenges and had to turn over rocks and get very creative on how we keep a workforce engaged when you have people working from home, working in different offices. Some people traveling, right? You want to do whatever you can to keep camaraderie, keep morale high, keep employees engaged. And we just had to get creative, right? And that goes back to listening to our employees. What do you want? What do we need? If it's a simple virtual happy hour or do a virtual game, and we do a lot of trivia days and things like that. We offer monthly all employee meetings where our CEO talks about what's happening in the organization. We have full visibility on what's going on. And then the last thing I would say, love is allowing. I think that it's so important to allow your employees to show up and have psychological safety to be who they truly are, especially in this world, right? There's so much going on around us. There's so many pressures and there's so much that's happening. We want our employees to know that we are here for them. As an organization, we value them, we value their families, and we want them to show up and be who they truly are, and allow them to be that. And our managers do a great job at leading by example with that. And our employees show up and do great work for us in return. So love has everything to do with it.
Yeah, especially for those of us who are in either 100% virtual or we're in this hybrid workspace, or we're in a workspace where we have multiple locations. Okay, anything where you're not physically in the same location as people all the time. They're starting to find that it is harder to feel the love and to build those relationships. And so I love, she said, love has everything to do with it, right? They're being very intentional about finding ways to show the love. Jeannie, do you want to build on that at all for Anders?
Yeah.
What does love have to do with it?
It's amazing. You mentioned that we had a little pre-session just to kind of run through a couple of concepts, but we really didn't talk through these things. And I'm just blown away at how similar some of these themes are between the other companies represented here. So just a couple of points that I was picking up on. The thing about happy people, right? I mean, that's actually the preamble to our core values statement is to continually build a culture where happy people, I mean, it's not corporate-y sounding, it's real. That's what we put in there. Happy people deliver outstanding results for our clients and community. So that's on the wall of the office. You know, we just want to create an environment where people can be happy. But I think Sarah said a couple things we've been working through. We're growing, and you know, we're in the top 100 CPA firms now in the country. It's to keep it at the micro level is a challenge. How do we make sure that we know everybody's name, that we know what's important to them, what's important to their families? We've got a very diverse staff now, and we came from a small firm and we've become a bigger firm, and it's really important to all of us that we have a culture here where people can feel comfortable, like you're not just a number working around the halls. You know, people know you, your managers know you, they have a kind of a personal relationship with you. So I think that some of those themes are really important. And I think maybe the overall is that the intentionality, just continuing, you can't let this kind of work go stale. You can't just say, okay, we finished our core values, our mission, vision, we've got a great culture, let's just move on and get work done. It's constant. It's always at your top of mind. It's in every meeting we have as partners. We bring this up. How do we continue moving the needle in terms of culture? What can we provide for our employees? What are the new initiatives? We have a great YP initiative group. We get their feedback multiple times a year. What are the things that, you know, we're getting old. I'm getting old. I don't know if I'm getting older or they're getting younger.
No, you're
one
not,
of the
Jeannie.
One of the two things is happening. But seriously, we have to listen to. They have great ideas that didn't come to mind for me, that weren't as relevant when I was coming up in public accounting. So we're listening to them. We have a women's initiative where we're listening to their needs. They're modern, and they're a little bit different than they were for some of the partners who were coming up 20 years ago. So we maintain that intentionality about it, which I think is really important.
Yeah. So in thinking of, and I know the answer to this question because I met with these ladies earlier this week, but just show of hands, ladies, how many of you said that it was an intentional choice to be a best place to work? All four, right? We asked, I said, hey, was it intentional or did it just kind of happen? And all four said it was a very intentional choice. So they knew what they were shooting for. So Jeannie, we're going to stay with you for a second because you had talked about, okay, we're doing this at the partner level, right? We had this very intentional, create the culture, create the mission, vision, values. We did it internally and you're growing. And so you've got lots of managers, you have lots of leaders across the organization. How do you help them? Like, how do you get your leaders to be intentional on helping drive this culture? How do you help them do it at the leader level?
It's a great question. And thank you for asking that because it is a challenge and you don't want to take it for granted that because as a growing firm, we've got lateral hires coming in. We've got people coming in from other states and other cities and other companies and industry and other public accounting firms. And so now there's a healthier mix, I think, of ideas. And one of the things we've recently done is kind of revamped our entire coaching program here in the firm. And I'm really excited about what this will lead to. It's a very intensive coaching paradigm that we've set up. We've got our HR department has taken the lead with making sure that they get the training that they need. Not every accountants don't really know how to be coaches. There's no debits and credits to that. It's hard for some accountants to really learn how it is, to really coach a young professional through their career, through all of the nuances in maintaining work-life balance, or we really like to call it work-life integration in some parts of public accounting. That's a big deal. So that's a really robust program, and we ask our managers, they want to be, if they we don't put them in a position to be a good coach if they're just not cut out for it. If they want to just be a worker and enjoy our environment, but if they're not cut out for coaching the next generation down, we don't put them in an uncomfortable position. But if they do want to do it, we're making sure that we give them training and tools and education on the right ways to go about it that fits with our firm culture. That's one of the things we're doing.
Yeah. And I love that you said it's not a forced, everybody does it. You say,
Yeah.
do you want this or do you not want this? And either way is okay. But if you want it, making sure we're giving you the tools to support
There's
that.
no penalty at all if it's just that's not who you are as a person. That's not the kind of account. I mean, if that's not your skill set, some people are better business developers. Some people are better client service people. Some people are better technicians. Some people are better coaches. I mean, we've got a healthy mix here now because we've grown so much. So we're recognizing that, and we're putting people in a position of success. And just because you've got a knack for it, that means the next step is to get you training, get you education, make sure that you're getting the resources that you need to be successful in that role.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Who wants to build on that? How are you helping managers? We get to hear how some of you are doing it. Lisa, what are you doing to help your managers be intentional with this?
I have to back up just a little bit, Liz, and piggyback off something that Jeannie said, because I felt the needle go in my back with something that she said. When you're bringing in executives or directors or managers from other companies, and we're doing that, and we're also acquiring other companies, they have their own cultures. And I really underestimated how difficult it would be to roll up these outside folks or outside companies into our culture. I really did. And then I started researching and recognized that there is a very high failure rate with trying to force people into the culture that you've built. And they might have some really good thoughts and core values themselves, but is it a smart thing to do to turn the apple cart upside down? Usually not, by the way. So how do you get everyone to buy into your culture when they're set in their ways? And so I just wanted to say, I don't know. I've got a bunch of books. I mean, I read through books and talked to people, and no one really that I've spoken with has this figured out exactly. So I'm looking outside my walls to hire someone to help me integrate better. Because our core values are what have made us successful. And hiring the right people. You hire the right people, that is the intentional part. And then the organic part is it flows and it works. So it's really both of those things. But as Jeannie said, when you're bringing these other folks in, now what? It's just not as easy as you would think it is. So I don't know the answer. Hello, I'm a panelist. I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. We haven't figured this out yet. I just wanted to start with that. So I can't really honestly answer that question if I haven't done it successfully yet.
Well, Lisa, I love, there's nothing better than hearing the truth from leaders, right? Because so often we look at, right, Lisa runs the business. Lisa started this business. And we look at Lisa and say, well, you have it all figured out, right? You know everything there is to know. And she's saying, no, I don't.
No, in fact, Liz, I'm the dumbest person in the company. I mean, honestly, I have surrounded myself with really smart, beautiful, hardworking people that make me look good. But this is one thing that we really have to figure it out, and we haven't yet. So if anyone has any suggestions on the panel or in the form of comments versus questions, I'm all ears too.
Sarah, Tamarius, or what are you doing to help your managers be intentional about showing the love and driving engagement?
Yes. There's so many things that you can do, and it's things that we are trying to figure out along the way, as Lisa said. Big for us is really looking at people first, right? Like your people are your most important decision, right? So that's hiring slowly, making sure that we get the right people in the organization to make sure that we can try to hold on to them and retain them, and that they flow and fit into our culture and our values and can live out our mission. So that's That's critical. And that's not always easy, especially in a climate where there's a fight for talent. People are leaving the workforce at record-breaking numbers, and I'm not sure where they're going because, positions are still vacant. Some positions are hard to fill, but we want to get the right people in the organization. And we really encourage and, help our managers to do that in the HR department. I will also say inclusion, having inclusive thought, with everything you do within your teams, the people you bring in the organization, in decision, in opinion, right? Just being diverse and having inclusion and making sure everyone feels like they're a part of the solution and a part of building and growing the organization is something that we also empower our managers to do. And I'll also say working to strengths. I heard this mentioned on the panel earlier. People are not going to be happy if you're forcing them to go backwards and they're designed to go forward, or if they're doing something that's not innate or doesn't feel natural. I think, to work on retention, we want to make sure that we are encouraging our people to do what feels good every day, right? When they're doing what feels good, they're going to show up and enjoy the work that they're doing. And result, they'll be happy, and engaged and perform well and retain, and you're able to retain them within the organization. So these are just a few things that we do, in the HR department to help our managers be successful and have happy, engaged employees.
Nice. Sarah, what would you add from a Raceline perspective? How are you helping managers with this?
So to Lisa's point, we don't always get it right. And not all of our managers want to be in the game and want to play. So we can spin our wheels trying to change those people, or we can focus on the people that are dedicated to driving our ethos of our organization, which is to be hungry, humble, and happy. And that's what we choose to focus on. So we do provide all of our managers quarterly management training. We provide 2 different sessions in different weeks. And we try to limit it to about 2 hours. And we have a really high participation rate. In fact, members from our board show up and our majority ownership team.
Wow.
It's a big deal. I've asked them to come because they know if they show, other people come and they participate too. And it's everything from emotional intelligence, other soft skills, to how to have difficult conversations, how to talk about compensation. So we do like a Comp 101, a Comp 102, or 201. We do a lot of different things to try to set our managers up for success and give them the tools in their toolbox so they can be successful. Ultimately, people quit their manager, not typically their job or the organization. So that's where we try to focus and set them up for success that way.
Yes, that is one thing very true of employee engagement. It's been true for about the past decade and a half. The number one key to employee engagement is your relationship with your immediate manager. And so how do we really build that and give those immediate managers the tools to drive and engage? Okay, so we are about halfway through with our panel discussion here. So we're going to give the panelists just a little break and we're going to throw the work to all of you. You've gotten to listen to some of their responses already. What is one thing that has made you think? One thing that's given you an aha, or one thing that's really resonated? Now, we obviously don't have time to hear from 54 people, but we do have time to drop into the chat box. So panelists, you can just sit back, take a look down in that chat box. Everybody else, let's show the panelists some love right now. What has resonated with you so far? What are the things that you're hearing that either made you think, an idea that got sparked, or something that just made you say, I've never thought about it that way before. So let's drop down to the chat. What's one thing you've heard so far that has resonated? One thing you liked? One thing that sparked an idea or a thought for you? So we'll give you about 60 seconds or so. I know you've heard a lot. already here on this call. So drop down into that. Kelly's got one in there. Ooh, happy isn't just the goal, it's the why. Yes. What is it that's resonating with you so far before we jump back in and hear more from our panelists? Oh, handwritten cards. Yeah, people don't want to go backwards. I love it. The idea of, yeah, public appreciation for people, whether it be big or small. Focusing on leaders. Oh, yes. See, panelists, look at all this value that you are already giving. Not everyone wants to change, and that's okay. 100%. Yes. So we've definitely got a lot of key themes that we are already hearing from our panelists. Ooh, back to communication. Yes, from all stakeholders. Making bold moves. Yeah, Lisa had talked about that every other Friday off. The companies did the work. They're very intentional on what they wanted to do, and they put in that work to make it happen. Now, here's the thing. Okay, all of these companies, and feel free, keep dropping those things in the chat. Oh, look at that. Know your team members, managers carrying culture, not HR. Yeah. How do we push that to everyone's responsibility versus just some responsibility? So all of these companies, they're growing, man, they're doing things right. And you know what? They don't have it all figured out. But let's be honest, do any of us have it all figured out? So Tamarius, you had talked a lot about listening to your employees and really meeting them where they were at and working in a way that they want to work at. So when you think about Links Up and how you're building this employee brand that's going to attract the best talent, because you also said people are leaving like crazy and you don't know where they're going. What are you all doing to build a brand that's attracting the right type of talent?
Yeah, so our leadership team, we've really kind of sat down to just say, like, let's stop. And we really are focusing on our culture. You know, we went through exercises to read and assess the materials that we have, the things that we do, that we don't do. You know, what can we start, stop, continue, to ensure that we are living up to our culture. If we need to revamp and pivot, to ensure that the things that we communicate align with the things that we are doing. So with that, we've also surveyed our employees, right? Survey. I think it's so important to listen to the needs of our staff and what they're looking for, what they don't like, what we do well, right? We can do more of that. And pivot. We've also invested in different training opportunities, focusing on DEI efforts. That's been a big thing for our organization. Especially in this climate, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is critical. And I think I mentioned earlier, you know, about psychological safety, wanting people to feel like they belong, that they're impacting, you know, the end game and the bottom line of the business. And there's a place for everyone, right? There's a place for everyone working to their strengths and ensuring that voices are heard is something that we're doing to really help enrich our culture and drive productivity and engagement at Links Up.
Yeah. And when you think about like attracting, are these things that you're talking about in interviews? Are they in the job posts? How are you making sure that prospective employees see that before they even show up day one?
Yes. And that's something that we're working on, right? So we're in the process of doing some rebranding for employment rebranding, making sure that we have a good representation of who is in our organization. I think that that's critical, especially for DEI efforts. We are talking about it in the interviews. We are posting it on our job postings. We're using our employees and asking them to go out and spread the word. We partner with other organizations to help with recruitment efforts. We get out whenever we can to go to different career fairs, right? It's a collaborative effort, and it's not just on HR. It's not just on the recruiter. It is on our managers, our CEO, right? Everyone. Because the truth is, as we said before, culture is a top-down effort. And it's not just held or owned by HR. We all have a part in making it happen. And that also goes with bringing in people in the organization and retaining top talent, especially in this climate.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're recruiting, attracting talent for very virtual positions. Some of our panelists are in very different spots. So would love to maybe hear some different perspectives from the panel. What are you doing right now to attract the best talent, attract, recruit? Go ahead, Lisa.
So who are we? We are the largest. We are in our space in the country. So we let candidates know this, that we have a high retention rate with our staff. We have a high retention rate with our clients. We feel that we're the best in the business and we're a great solution for our clients. How would you like to join that team? So it really is what we believe here, and that's what we project to the outside world and to potential candidates here. So,
yeah, right. You got to be able to believe it if you want to sell it to other people. And so really, truly having the firm belief is what's helping you to attract and find.
Right. So do you think you're the best of the best?
Oh, what a question though. I mean, really, because if people are saying, it's a good place, you should, people know if you don't really say, I love this place.
Right. Exactly.
They get it. Sarah, Jeannie, what would you add?
So for me, brand matters. And not all stakeholders in C-suite understand that. And I think a great way to put that in perspective is the Apple brand alone, not its products. The Apple brand, that Apple logo, was just valued at $355 billion.
Was it really?
Yes. So for me, the brand is not just your logo or your tagline or the color scheme that you use. It is the message. It's who you are. It's what we do. And what we do is, if any of you guys have ever heard of the brand pyramid or that concept, I encourage you to Google it. If not, we create that. And then we look at target messaging for each of our different types of audiences. So quick example. I think Barry's in manufacturing. I see you. Hi, Barry. For our manufacturing advertising, that is very different than to our professional staff or our construction. So we have a target message for our potential candidates we're recruiting. We have a target message for the parents of the young children that we're not young children. That's not that bad. Young folks who are recent graduates, because moms don't want their babies to grow up and become welders. They want them to become engineers and lawyers. We don't necessarily need more lawyers. So we make sure that we have a message for the parents and we invite them into our facility so they know it's clean and nice and there's all these promotional opportunities. We have it in different languages. The messages, the pictures, the images are different. So we cater and try to make it appealing. A 45-year-old woman in a suit is not going to be appealing to a future welder in Redbud, Illinois. It's not. So adjusting accordingly. And then of course, making sure we're using good and appropriate language. We don't need to use the word plethora when we can use the word many. Changing our advertising, make sure we're reaching people and that we have easily translatable words. So we're not having to recreate documents or send the wrong message, which we've done before. And those are just some of the steps that we're taking to recruit the different areas and locations that we work in.
Yeah. And what a unique way to look at that. Most of us look and say, how do I recruit these employees? And you're broadening and say, well, how do we talk to their parents?
Right.
Right. I've heard of other companies, they'll interview the spouses or they'll send us the spouse a gift, or so thinking differently about the way you're attracting talent and the messaging you're using. Yeah. Very powerful.
And we do the same from a retention standpoint. So we send those monthly newsletters home. We do a Raceline magazine twice a year, a true magazine that features people. And the reason we do that is because your spouses are usually your most influential people in your life. we want them to know what's going on too.
Yeah.
And so we intentionally make that decision to do that.
Nice. All right, Jeannie, go for it.
Yeah, these are great ideas, by the way. I'm taking a lot of notes personally, because this is a real challenge for us. So Sarah, mamas aren't letting their babies grow up to be accountants either right now. Their accounting enrollments have plummeted. Barriers to entry in public accounting are severe. The CPA exam is no longer, they don't want to go the full freight. And there's a lot of logistical and compliance problems with that. So we've got to get real creative. Our advisory services are expanding. But even in traditional audit and tax, we've got to rethink the way we're hiring people. To Tamaris's point about, opening up our DEI efforts to bring more people into the profession of public accounting that 10 years ago didn't have as easy access into the profession. We're very serious about that. I'm really passionate about that problem and that concept here. And how can we do better for not just self-serving for our firm, but how can we do better for the profession of public accounting, which I love. But there's a theme that's rolling around here, and I wanted to touch on it a little bit. And it kind of goes back to something Lisa was talking about a minute ago. We have a lot of lateral hires come in, and they've got bright ideas about practice areas they want to pursue. There's been some emerging technologies in the business world that we as accountants and advisors need to get our brains around. Think about like cannabis, and think about data analytics, and think about crypto. There's a number of things that are emerging and popping up, and we have people coming into our firm who are passionate about these things and want to pursue them and want to be able to provide services to our clients and build a niche. And I did the same thing when I came into Anders with not-for-profit organizations. My colleague Dave Finklang did the same thing with startup businesses. And the nice thing about it is Anders is not afraid of failure. And that's a weird thing. I came from a previous environment that was very afraid that if we tackle this and we throw a bunch of resources at it and it doesn't go, we're going to have postmortem after postmortem about what we did wrong and how we failed. We're not like that. Our partners and our leader group are very interested in, hey, if you've got an idea, if you've got a passion for something, whatever it may be, we're going to let you explore it. We're going to let you go forward and try it. And we hope it works out. We're going to support you. We're going to give you the resources you need, but not everything works out. And that's okay. We're not going to beat everybody up over it. And there's not going to be a lot of name calling and we're going to continue to be innovative. We're going to stumble along the way. So there's a lot of things that we don't have figured out. And, we're comfortable with that. We're just try to get better and try to move forward. I like that about this firm. It's very, very unique here by a bunch of accountants who always want the right answer, so it's a great mindset to have.
Yeah. What a unique perspective when you think about attracting or recruiting talent to say, hey, we don't have it all figured out and we want you to try new things. Definitely different.
And you're going to be with a lot of people who are going to be also trying new things. And I think when innovative entrepreneurial people get in the room together, so much cool stuff comes out of that in and of itself is valuable to us. So It might not be a home run, but maybe it's a solid base hit and we can keep working on that.
Yes. Yeah. So thinking of this idea of creativity, innovation, right? We've talked all day so far about how these women are doing things differently within their organizations. And sometimes we think it has to be a big, huge thing, but sometimes it's the small things that make a big difference. I was just on vacation with my family. We were in the Dominican Republic. We stayed at this resort where they have all the restaurants, right? And everybody, they're all the waiters, they're all working for tips. And so you tip everyone. And we went to a Mexican restaurant one night and our server was named David. And David did something creative. He did something a little bit different. He would come over and he'd pour your water or bring you, some bread or something. And then you'd say, oh, thank you, thank you. And every single time you said thank you, he would look at you and he said, it's a pleasure. Just like that, every single time. Something a little bit different, a little bit creative. And for the rest of the night and for the rest of the trip, guess what my kids would do? You'd say thank you and they would say, it's a pleasure. Because he did something different that stood out. all of these companies are doing those things that are just a little bit different than maybe the way some of us are doing them. Now, one of the things Sarah had mentioned earlier was kind of that ethos, Sarah. You said, remain hungry, stay humble, be happy. You're obviously doing lots of things. You brought up those cards earlier as well when it comes to recognizing people or showing that appreciation, showing the love. How else is Raceline doing that overall, right? You gave some good examples of what you're doing. How does Raceline overall recognize, appreciate, show the love?
So to Lisa's point, once again, to reiterate with you guys, we don't always get it right. But some things that we have done that have worked for our organization and our culture is we rolled out the Raceline Way, which is comprised of 6 different pillars and probably will continue to grow. Everything from community service, environmental stewardship, wellness, diversity and inclusion, continuing education, and one more that I can't remember right now, but you guys are all staring at me.
It's pressure.
But it started small. So we actually started with wellness years ago, and it eventually got wrapped up. But we started with these really small committees, really little participation, because remember, like I mentioned before, about anywhere from 10, 15 to 90% of my employees travel. I'm sorry, the majority of my employees travel 10 to 90% of the time. So do you think that they want to go to a happy hour or do another event after they've been away from their families? They don't. Kind of probably like with Jeannie, they've worked 60 hours in an accounting firm. They don't want to go spend more time with them. Manufacturing is the same way. So what we've done is we've tried to build events around them that work for them to still benefit and enhance the communities in which we live and work and that we spend our time in and that our families are in. And it has just naturally grown and evolved, and we've been patient with the process. It's a huge hit though. Everything from participation in a parade, our, a lot of companies donate to families during Christmas. We adopt numerous families. Every program has grown. We require all of our interns. I shouldn't say require, but we strongly encourage all of our interns to participate in a volunteer activity to showcase, do something else for the community besides just themselves. And that's the same for our skilled craft interns too, not just our professional. We bring fun into the environment, and I'm going to pick on my internship program because it's going right now. Anybody who wants to participate, we'll give them 100 cans and $100, and they get to create something, anything they want. And whoever wins the bragging rights, wins the golden can trophy, and wins a sweet gift card. So there's some fun things there, but ultimately for us, being hungry is about always wanting to do more, do best, serve our customers, serve our employees, our internal customers, external customers, whoever that is. To be humble. It doesn't matter what level you are in the organization. We all put our pants on the same way. And you should be treated appropriately because of that. Any of that ego or some other of those political things that I'm sure some of us have seen in other companies, that doesn't fly in our organization. And ultimately to be happy. And if you're not happy, we'll encourage you to find your happy. And if we can't provide that internally, we'll give you the time and space to find that externally. Because at the end of the day, if we've learned anything from COVID, and I think Adam Grant recently put a post out about this, your mental health is your priority. Your family is your priority. We are not your priority. We may forget that sometimes, but that's where the focus should be. And that's what we really try to drive.
Love it. So what I just heard there was, how are we showing the recognition and appreciation? It's about you and not just about what we want, but how do we make you feel special in your role in a way that works for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we keep trying and we keep doing things and we keep introducing new things. And like I said, sometimes we get it right and sometimes we don't, but you can't be afraid to fail or mess up or make mistakes. But ultimately acknowledge the people. It's like the Ritz-Carlton way. You never walk by somebody without saying, hi, hello, how are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that's another right. Jeannie said common themes. We're hearing these common themes, and one of them is no one's saying we found the right way. This is it. Do that. It's this constant evolution, and it should be of, hey, this is working right now, and then man, it's not working anymore. Or we thought this would work, and it's not. So it's continuing to try and continuing to evolve what we're doing.
Right.
So would love to.
Yeah.
Finish.
I was just gonna say, it's that spirit of continuous improvement. We have a whole other committee that is solely focused on acknowledging and rewarding the people who do the job, who come up with better ways to do it, whether it's ordering coffee better or designing a skid better or a program better. It doesn't matter what it is. We've had the smallest ideas add up to like $25,000 in savings just by changing one simple process. Imagine the ownership they felt, and they get to see their name in lights. They win some money. It's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Who else wants to take that one? How are you recognizing and appreciating your employees so that they really feel the love on a daily basis?
I'll chime in. We have incorporated like an annual recognition program where we highlight various skill sets, whether you're selling or taking care of customers or going out and doing philanthropic work, just giving our employees opportunity to shine, right? And we give them money and just give other employees opportunity to recognize them as well. So I think that has really been successful for us. As Sarah said, I mean, there's things that you learn along the way. Last year, or this year was our first year recognizing for last year. And we figured out some things that we could do different going forward, but nonetheless, it's a great opportunity to recognize success. And I think allow that camaraderie and other employees to chime in about their colleagues and allow voices to be heard and people to just shine who you may not have known that they volunteered X amount of hours or, that they topped in sales or whatever they did. That was great. I also go to philanthropy. We do give our employees 8 hours a month to go out and do something great. As Sarah was mentioning, I think that there is value that's added when people are able to do something bigger than themselves. When people are able to, again, have the flexibility to be with their family, do something that they're passionate about, and then show up and encourage and support their colleagues and their workforce. I think that encompassing, right? I mean, allows you to feel valued, loved, and appreciated, and know that you're making an impact and being recognized along the way.
Yeah. I love how we're even broadening, right? I feel like a lot of times when we hear, how do we show the appreciation? How do we show the love? How do we show the recognition? We think of that individual person, but you guys are saying we're broadening that. It's going into the community. It's going into the home. It's thinking about it differently than just here's your gift card or here's a, pat on the back or a thumbs up. Nice.
And I want to add too that we do a monthly MVPs, or most valuable performer. That person can be nominated by anybody in the company. So we do highlight that person in particular in our all employee meetings. We do an all staff meeting each month. And then in that time, we also do shout outs. So I think that's a great opportunity where people, just say all the amazing things that happen on a regular basis that we miss out on each and every day. And I think just that recognition, those highlights, just go such a long way. I feel like those day to day, the small things that make a big impact later go so much further sometimes than the big events, right? So we try to give kudos, accolades, shout outs, credit, reward, recognition whenever we can. Because I know our workforce, we have people who, where that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Lisa, go ahead.
Well, I agree 100%. We do the same thing, not quite as extensive as Sarah's organization, maybe more closely with Tamaria's. But I'll just give 2 examples of what we do in employee recognition. We also work with charities, but again, I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to throw 2 things out that we do with employee recognition that our employees absolutely love. We actually made our own yard signs. And so when we have that MVP of the month, our trainers will go out to their apartment complex, their home, their whatever, and put the yard signs in. You rock with all of this stuff all over it. And they wake up in the morning and come to work and they have this really fun signage going on. And that's not expensive. It's just time to go set it up. And then the other thing we do is you can design, if you're the winner, you get to design your own Nikes custom. And it's like $120. It's not bad. And that is probably the most popular thing that we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, they love it. They absolutely love it. So
I
and we
love
can just
those
sport them around the
ideas.
office.
Yeah, that's really cool, especially the Nikes.
Yeah, it's really popular.
I didn't even know you could. I remember being in like 5th grade and that was like the cool thing. It had just come out. I didn't know you could even still do that.
I am here to tell you, you can, and everyone here loves it.
I'm a
Oh, man.
sneakerhead and I love this idea. I'm fangirling right now.
I think there might be some sneakers in Raceline's future for
Oh, yes,
certain
there
people.
will be.
And they'll need someone to test it to make sure that they're, that it works.
Right. Absolutely. I guess I'll bite the bullet.
So kind. Jeannie, what would you want to add, or do you want to build on recognition, appreciation? How do you do that at Anders?
It's fine. A lot of the same things that we're hearing. Just a couple things that stood out. We do have our software system, this quantum recognition system allows for like literally the day-to-day stuff that people do to help each other around here. And you can go in and put a recognition in there like, Susie really, came through for me on this project and she had to work late and little stuff like that. And it builds up and it's so much fun to kind of watch that. It's almost like a social media feed. So, if you're hanging out in the day and you pull that up, you can kind of see these various recognitions that are going on throughout a 300-person CPA firm, and just little touch points like, oh, wow, I didn't even know they knew each other, so that's kind of fun. And then from there, we have everything all the way up to the big scale events. We have our, day at the ballpark. We happen to be right next door to Busch Stadium. So, we make sure we get events over there. We have a variety of events throughout the course of the year. YP Initiative has the putt-putt tournament. I mean, there's always something going on around the office in terms of events and recognitions. And but the community service thing is really important to us. We have our annual Charity of Choice program. In addition to the variety, and I run the not-for-profit niche in my firm, by the way, that's my subject matter expertise. So this is like, seriously, I'm really passionate about this. But our commitment to community, we support our clients in a variety of organizations throughout the entire year. But our big one is our Charity of Choice. And that at the end of every year, the staff, everybody can nominate their charity. It could be something meaningful to you, could be a board you serve on, could be a client, whatever it is that you're passionate about. And then the entire firm votes. And then for the next year, we pick our charity of choice. And that's where we have a lot of events that raise funds for that charity. Our NC2A tournament bracket, which is, we've got over 800 participants that and clients get involved and they'll do sponsor prizes and things like that. We do a variety of YP events for the charity of choice and our intern program. So our Discovery Anders intern program, they will spend at least a couple of hours during that 2-day program where they're doing something for our charity of choice. And that's really meaningful. They really enjoy that. It shows our commitment. So all of these things we're talking about, we have the micro stuff and the big macro stuff and everything in between.
Yeah, we heard great examples there of organization appreciating, recognizing, and also helping employees to appreciate and recognize one another, people in the community. So we are coming up here to almost our Q&A time. So my guess is, I know we're hearing some takeaways. We heard some of those halfway through, but my guess is some of you have some questions. Maybe you've jotted them down. Now is going to be your opportunity to ask some questions. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have you start dropping your questions down in the chat. I'm going to ask one final question to our panelists. At Dale Carnegie, we like to leave with action, right? We want to do something. So panelists, if you are going to recommend one thing that people could do, if they said, gosh, like I want to be a best place to work next year, what's one thing I could do? We're going to have each panelist tell one thing, one piece of advice, one nugget that they would say, this would be one thing to consider. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't work. We've all done things in both categories. While they're answering that question, we're going to be collecting your questions down in the chat box. So if you have a question for the broad panel, feel free to throw it down there. If you have a question, if you want to know more about one specific thing, please just put the name of the person that you're really wanting to know in that question, and we'll be sure to ask that specific person. So what we'll do is we'll give you a couple minutes to start putting those questions down in the chat box. And I'm going to throw the question out to the panel while you're thinking of what advice would you give someone? If they said they wanted to be a best place to work, what's one thing you would suggest that they do? So while the questions come down in the chat, the panel didn't even know I was asking this question. So who wants to take that first? What's the one piece of advice you would give?
I'm happy to jump in on this one.
Perfect.
Go into receive mode. That means listen. And there are a number of ways you can do that. You can do a survey, you can do whatever. And it doesn't mean that what you're going to hear is always going to work. For example, I went to one of these. I love these. I love learning from other leaders. And bring your pet to work was a big deal, or an office pet was a big deal. Purina was doing it. All the great companies in St. Louis were doing it. So I tried it, but I had people allergic to dogs, people allergic to cats. And so we went with the brilliant idea of a hedgehog, an office hedgehog. Well, the problem is they hurt to pick up, they're nocturnal, and someone got workers' comp, so it turned into an OSHA event. So they don't always work, but if you listen, my employees wanted a pet. I tried it, it didn't work. So we went on with some other things, but I would say listen is the number one. Listen to what their ideas are and try and incorporate some of them.
Nice. Who wants to go next? What's the advice? Go ahead, Tamarius.
Yes, I will simply say engagement. Engage with your people. Just to support Lisa, you want to listen and you want to engage, right? You want to make sure that you are meeting the needs of your folks, that you understand the needs of your people, that your people understand the business and how they impact the business, that they're doing meaningful work and they're engaged. So whether that's buy them lunch. People love food. Bring snacks into the break room. Send snacks to their home. Have a virtual event. Give them some swag. Buy them some sneakers. Have an MVP, have recognition. But keeping employees engaged is ultimately going to equate to happy employees that retain and grow with your organization. So make time for that. It will go a long way for your company.
Love it. Thanks, Tamarius. Sarah, Jeannie?
Happy to go. So I think for the most part, there's a lot of HR strategy and training folks on here. My recommendation or my advice would be, first and foremost, make sure that you know your business. You know all the different aspects and facets of your business, because only then can you make better decisions. And then the next step from there is creating that communication strategy. What is going to work? What is going to make sure that your people are in the know, that they feel that they know what's going on? They understand the who, what, and why. And that is really powerful to me. You can add all the benefits and bells and whistles in the world, but if they don't understand what's going on, I think there's always going to be a disconnect.
Absolutely. All right, Jeannie. Final piece of advice. What would you tell everyone?
I'm gonna give a shout out to my colleague and partner Donna Herbs, who is our was formerly our chief marketing officer, is now director of strategic growth here at Anders. She's actually the one who put me on this panel because she's in Ireland right now. But it's something she does and cultivates out of people. And as leaders in the firm, it sort of embrace your yes. Try to, there's this, you guys have probably done this exercise at Dale Carnegie, the yes, but and the yes, and kind of exercise, where if you go, yes, but now there's going to be a barrier there. I'm not sure we can do that. Might be out of compliance. Not sure it fits with our culture. try the yes and for a few times. Get your leader group to start embracing these ideas. As other panelists have said, be receptive, listen. Go ahead and break down some of these barriers that you've got in your head that you've built up over a long career of why that won't work, and try to be open-minded and more creative about, hey, that could work. Maybe we should give it a try. I think those are just the little micro things that you can do to start turning that culture around. And that's what we've tried to do here at Anders. And it takes practice. It takes a lot of, you want to fall back on those old ways. You want to fall back on those. We're tired. We're busy. But try to keep that front in mind and be intentional about it. Try to embrace your yes.
Love it. Yes, and versus yes, but. All right. So we do have some questions coming down in the chat. So the first question is for anyone who wants to take it. So Kelly says, in cultivating your culture, right, your culture of leaders, how much time do you earmark for them to dedicate to training opportunities? Okay, she says, being fully aware culture isn't just classroom or webinar work. So how much time do you give them? And how do you encourage your leaders to use that time for that purpose? So if you're saying, how much time do you give them to go develop? And then how do you make sure that they're doing that in that time? Go ahead, Jeannie.
Well, interestingly, in public accounting, we've got some rules to the road there. So they have to receive, so CPAs have to get 40 hours in Missouri of continuing professional education a year. It's statutory requirement to keep your license. So right there and then we've got, and that's not all just debits and credits technical training, by the way. We bake into that a lot of soft skills, a lot of the other leadership training and things like that that'll qualify. So I guess we're lucky and not lucky at the same time that we have this compliance requirement that we have to do. But on top of that, we're a public accounting firm, so yeah, we're rooted in hours. I hate to say that, but we are. It's part of the work. So within the past couple of years, we really did because there's a lot of initiatives at Anders too. There's a lot of initiatives, and our people want to be involved in a variety of initiatives. And before you know it, it's all initiatives and no actual work, right? We have to balance that. So we went through this exercise with the coaches and the family tree leaders to try to say, all right, let's find the initiatives that are important to you. If you're a woman and you're a young professional and your practice area is real estate, we have 3 niches there that you could be involved in. But does it make the most sense for all 3 of those to be, if you've got 3 events in a week, well, how are you going to have time for your family? So helping our people understand which initiatives around here are the most meaningful to them personally, that can they can get the most out of. So it's a balance, but I would say we do push managing what we call your charge time and your commitments to clients and your job responsibilities with a lot of good time to channel in those initiative areas that are most meaningful for your career.
Yeah. Nice. Maybe if anyone else has a thought, we could hear one more on this question. And if they don't, that's okay too. We've got other questions down there. That just means they haven't figured that one out either. Okay, so Brooke asked, again, this is for anyone. Has anyone had resistance to the people first flexibility mindset towards engagement? Sometimes top-down decision-making habits, like returning to 5 days in office culture, are hard to let go of for executives. So has anyone faced that resistance to that people first engagement? And if so, what did you do about it?
I'm owned by a private equity firm in New York and London. So very old school group. And so you can imagine the looks on their faces when I wanted to add 28 days of additional time off. We tried it. It worked. And by the way, just for the record, to get people in the office, that was the benefit we offered. And we also added 1 day working from home per week. And we had over 95% participation in that. So I got everyone back in. Our productivity stayed the same. We watched it very carefully. We report on it every month. And so far, my job is to keep my bosses happy and my employees happy and make money at the same time. So we're doing that. So I would say it's successful, but it's all about how you communicate. I think all of the panelists have said that. And trying something. I think Jeannie said, don't be afraid of failure. And that's important too. So again, laying it out, communicating what your vision is, and then executing and then measuring, because you can't manage what you can't measure. And so that's important too. And that's the way you're going to communicate to the folks upstairs.
Absolutely. Nice. Again, maybe one more, if anyone has had that experience of, go ahead, Tamarius.
Yeah, I will say that, we were 100% hybrid in our organization. When things got safer, we were like, yeah, we're going to go back to the office. And we had a lot of resistance from our employees, but not only our employees, it was some of our leaders, right? We had people on all different ends of the spectrum. People who were like, yep, back in the office, we're going back. We're not offering that much flexibility, back to business as it was. And you have folks like, maybe for safety or different reasons, they wanted to try different avenues. But it goes back to everything that I think we said here is listen. You can listen, you have to listen. No matter what it is that we want to do as leaders, I think it's important to listen to your employees, because if you do something different than what they're looking for, you're going to find yourself in a very challenging spot, especially if you're competing with other organizations or similar organizations who can offer them the flexibility and the things that they want. I also think the beauty is nothing is written in stone. It's written in sand, right? So you can try something, see if it works, right? If it doesn't work, try something else, offer different incentives. And I also think getting to your why. I think in this day and age, people don't want to just be told, yeah, we're going to come back to the office because, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Let's talk about why it's important to return, or why it's important to not return, or, what is our end goal? What are our objectives and how are we going to meet them? And if we continue to meet them, we can continue to have this flexibility. So I think just communicating, listening, and trying different things, it's what works, and how it, you help to meet the needs of different people with different perspectives about flexibility.
Love it. Okay, we'll do one more question and we'll hear maybe one or two thoughts on this. So in talking about appreciation and recognition, someone said, I love the ideas of all these small tokens of appreciation. How do you ensure that your employees who are either fully remote or are in other locations are also included? So do you celebrate those individuals differently, or do you do the same thing just in multiple places?
I'm happy to chime in here. So we make a concerted effort. I mentioned a couple of times we do mailers. We do those mailers domestically as well as internationally. There's no reason anyone should miss out on anything. We do custom Raceline boxes, and anything that the employees get here, like during Employee Appreciation Week, our swag, we mail that home to our remote work employees, to our heavy travelers, as well as internationally. And we also do celebrate people differently. We try to meet people where we're at. We try to really focus on the inclusion aspect of diversity and inclusion, especially with our global locations. So most recently, for those of you guys who are not familiar with Brazil, they're very passionate about their coffee. They have coffee farms. There's coffee princesses. Like, it's a thing. If you didn't know, now you do. And so they sent a ton of coffee to all of our global locations so we could share that with everybody and celebrate our Brazil office. We try really hard to make an effort to do things like that year round, to pay homage and appreciation to all of our different entities and cultures that we work with and serve and support, so they feel included. One of the birthday cake every month that came from one of the facilities we acquired. People love it, absolutely love it. So we rolled it out at all of our global entities. We don't mail cake home, but it does. I will say yesterday was a cake day, and it was very challenging to find a parking spot. So if that's what gets people to come in, we'll do the cake day. So hopefully that helps, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. So All right, we unfortunately are going to be wrapping up this panel now because we want to make sure everybody gets out on time. We also want to make sure, we said one of the things we were going to do, because you might still have questions, is make sure you can connect. So you should see right now, do you see all their faces? Yes? Okay, thanks, Lisa. I was like, I hope I shared it. You should see all of their faces, all of their names, their titles, the company, and most importantly right now is the email address. So if there was someone you say, man, I really want to connect with them further, I want to talk to them about this, or I want to follow up with some questions, maybe you want to do a handwritten to just say, thank you for being on this panel. Here are their email addresses. So take a quick screenshot of this, jot down any of those that you want. We'll leave this up for another, 30, 60 seconds or so, give you some time there. As we think about wrapping this event up, I was thinking about wrapping this event up last week, and I was like, man, they're going to bring such value. What in the world can I say to close up a panel event like this power panel? And then I had this brilliant idea, and I thought, why am I going to do it? I shouldn't do it. I should make them do the work. So they are the ones that are going to leave us today. Before they do that, they're going to leave us with some inspiring quotes. Let's give a huge hand to our panel. So if you go down to your reactions, yes, you have clapping hands, you have thumbs up, you have hearts. You can literally give an old school thumbs up, drop some love for our panelists down in the chat. We are so grateful to each one of you ladies for being here. Really, as valuable as it was for everyone here, we got just as much value getting to hear, what are you doing? What are organizations doing differently? So from the bottom of my heart and the whole team here at Dale Carnegie's heart, thank you for being here, for donating your time and your insights and your wisdom. I have no doubt that everyone is leaving here a better leader than when they came out, and is going to be able to positively impact their organizations. So thank you. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing this. So if you need those emails, quickly pull that phone out, grab those, because they're going to disappear. All right, like I said, they are going to close us out today with a little bit of inspiration. I asked them each to have one quote, right? Something that really resonates with them. Could be Dale Carnegie, something else, doesn't matter. Something that inspires, resonates, and speaks to them. So these four wonderful power women are going to walk us out of here today. So we're just going to start. We'll go Jeannie, Lisa, Sarah, and then Tamarius. So Jeannie, what do you got for us?
So I found one from Maya Angelou that I think is particularly relevant for the topic here. You can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing, and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off of you.
Oh, yes. Love it. Lisa, what do you got?
Well, I'm an old hippie, so here it comes. From the Led Zeppelin song, Stairway to Heaven, at the end, to be a rock and not to roll. Interpret it any way you want.
To be a rock and not to roll.
If you got it, you should be using it.
Love it. Sarah, what about you? Oh, Sarah, you're muted.
Oh, I didn't make that mistake all day.
I
All right,
know.
our president
That's okay.
always says, alone we can go fast, but together we can go far. And I love it.
Nice. All right, Tamarius, final quote, final words of wisdom. What do you have for us?
Yes, and I think this one is pretty appropriate for everything that we talked about today, and a great way to close this out. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And that's a quote by Winston Churchill.
Love it. So thank you all again, our panelists, especially everyone else for joining, taking 90 minutes out of your day. Have an awesome rest of your Thursday, everyone, rest of your week, and an incredible 4th of July. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks.
You are so welcome.
Thanks, Liz. Nice
Thanks,
meeting you guys.
everyone.
Take
This
care.
was amazing. You all have a great
Great.
day.